Hey everyone, this is Lisa at TRW, and in this video I'm going to show you the basic things that you need to know to cut Magic Flock template material. So I have some right here, so I'm going to show you which cut settings work for me, why you should be doing a test cut, and some tips and tricks to know about this material and how you can be the most successful while cutting this with your Silhouette CAMEO. So if you want to find out how to cut the Magic Flock template material for your rhinestone designs, then go ahead and keep on watching. Alright, so I have my template material here. I'm going to set this to the side because I need to just go ahead and set up something to cut for my rhinestone template. So if I go over to this new document, I have some text typed out. This just says future misses. Of course, bridal shirts are going to be a really big seller for your rhinestone designs. So I have this set as a rhinestone true type font. So you'll see as I click on this, this is the TRW 2700B true type font. Now, if you look at it, these holes for the rhinestones are very, very small. It is not set to the correct size. So if we go over and open up our website, you can see that this is our font right here. So I found my 2700B, and if you scroll to the bottom of this font, you can see right at the bottom, it shows me my font point size. So I need to set this point size to 243 points. And that'll make the holes the right size for my SS10 rhinestones to fit in. So I'm going to select this, go right here to my point size, and select 243, hit enter. Alright, so now you can see we have my design all set, and really we're all set to cut. I'm going to go to my rectangle tool on the side, draw a square around this. This makes it easier to weed out my design and just saves your material when you're working with this. So we have this set up in our workspace. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you can cut with or without a mat. The great thing about the Magic Flock is that you don't have to use a cutting mat. If you look at the material here, we have this blue, and there's a paper backing to it. And I'll show it to you once I get to the cutting. Before I cut, I'll show this to you as well. So my paper backing acts as my backing or cutting mat when I cut this material. So I don't need to use a cutting mat. So we're gonna go over to our page setup. We're gonna go over to right here where it says cutting mat, and we're going to do none. Now you can see my screen changes a little bit. You can see that I can't preview a cutting mat there. It's just my workspace there. So we have this part all set to cut, and now we're going to go over to our cut panel and kind of work through what settings we need to use. Alright, so we have our send panel, and you can see that my material, my design is highlighted. It's got those bold red lines. If you ever have maybe an SVG file that you bring in, just make sure you select all of this and click cut down here. Sometimes the cut lines are turned off. So I'm going to go over and we're going to choose my preset for my Magic Flock material. Now, whenever I cut my custom materials, I always make my own presets. That's how you're going to get the most accurate results, and it's easy for me to kind of go from where I'm going with there. So I'm going to link below my video on how to create your custom cut setting, and so you'll be able to do that and do that for all your materials. For this video, I'm going to show you the settings that I've been using for Magic Flock, why you need to do your test cut, and all that fun stuff there. So you can see I have my Magic Flock set right here. I have my blade set at 5, my speed at 10, my force at 27, and 2 passes. Now, one thing to note is we do have materials that can help you get started with your cut settings. So if you go to our website, go to support, resources, documentation, we have right here, it says cutter specs and recommended cut settings. We have this all set up for you, and if you go over to the first page, we have our CAMEO cut settings. So we have our Magic Flock, blade depth of 6, a speed of 10, force 22, and 2 passes. So you can see that this looks different than mine. One thing to emphasize whenever you set up your materials is that every machine's a little bit different. Your blade could be a little bit dull, it could be brand new. Me personally, my blade is starting to get dull. I have been using it for a while, so you can see that I've brought my force up pretty high. So we're going to go over and I'm going to show you what this force is at. So I'm going to bring this down to basically 25, hit the save button. I'm going to load my material and we are going to do a test cut. So what we're going to do is we're going to set that up and we're going to make sure our settings are correct before we go ahead and cut all of our material. All right, so here is my Cameo. I am working with the Cameo 3, and here is my Magic Flock template material. So Magic Flock is 12 inches wide, so a foot, and here's our paper backing. This is what we use to stabilize it. And just like any other material that we load, we want to line up right next to this arrow here, these lines here. And if you notice, you'll see that my roller does not go to the edge. So one of the biggest things that you have to remember when you are cutting without a mat is that these rollers have to be on the edge of your material, these right here. So when you're using your cutting mat, that's why your rollers are all the way over there. It's on the edge of your mat. And when you're cutting without it, you want to make sure that roller is on the edge of your material right here. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to set this up right here, line that up, and then we're going to go over and load our material. Now sometimes you may have material that is cut a little bit unevenly at the top. That's totally fine. You want to make sure when you load it, you're just checking these guidelines that you have right here. And I like to lift up the side of my roller and kind of adjust it so that this feeds in straight. So we have this all set. And if you look over at my screen, you'll see that we have our Cameo 3 ready. We have it set to Magic Flock. And we're going to go right here and we're going to hit test. So right now my blade is readjusting itself. It's going to set itself to those settings, and we are going to run our test cut. So you notice it cut it twice because we have it set to a double cut. So let's go over, let's let it finish working and unload it. Now when you are working with Magic Flock, when it first comes out, it's going to look like nothing happened really. Because the material is really thick, you can't really see your cut lines. So there's no indentation on the back, which is good. You don't want that. So what we want to do is we want to peel up our square and see how our triangle stayed behind. So this is a good cut setting. So we are all set to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reload my material. So use this line as a guide. Kind of set it down like that. Let's go ahead and load it. You have that all set. Now if you notice right here, we have something in the corner which is going to get in the way of our cut settings on our screen. So we're going to just go ahead, click right here, and you can see this little move show up, these arrows. I'm just going to move my carrier over just a little bit, and now this sets a new origin for my design. So I'm going to jump back over to my screen. You'll see I have my settings all set. We're going to go right here and hit send. Okay, so now my cut is finished. You'll get this working processing. So now we're all set. Now let's go ahead and unload. And so one thing you want to look for is you should see really tiny like indents of circles in here. They won't be super strong, but you'll see them just a tiny bit. So that means your cut is pretty good. And now I'm just going to kind of bend this to get this corner up. So we're going to get this corner. That's why we do our square. We're going to peel up our design. So if you look, I did miss one little rhinestone. So right here, one stone didn't come out, which is totally normal. On a good cut, all of them will come back, so you'll see every other stone didn't. But in the case that you have rhinestone holes that don't come out, all you have to do is smooth down your template material on like a table or a flat surface, lift up, and then it peeled right up. So here's our template. This is with the Magic Flock template material. This is what we use to brush in our rhinestones. So until we're ready to cut, I'm just going to store this on the back of maybe my hot fix transfer tape, like the paper backing. And this is reusable. So you'll see with this material, it's got a sticky backing so you can store it, and it's great to put on your workstation to make it easier to brush in your rhinestones. So if you would like to see more videos of us using this material, if you'd like to see us brushing in our rhinestones, just go ahead and like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we will have lots of videos on how to use this material. So we went over how to cut this material, some things to look out for, and hopefully you are all set to cut your Magic Flock template material now.